Hi everyone, Steve Wyss here. I'm joined by Kevin Harper. And I want to start by congratulating ourselves for a couple of winners on Wednesday in the Australia against Pakistan game down at Taunton. We were made to sweat, but actually you won your wides bet by just half a wide, and I won my fours bet by just 1.5 boundaries there. But a winner is a winner, and in a way, you kind of, that's the way you want to win, isn't it, Kev? Close like that.
Yeah, absolutely. They sailed in, really, didn't they? Half a wide and 1.5 boundaries. I mean, let's be fair. It was 1.5 wides, wasn't it? I don't know what Nigel Long was looking at. About 30 overs into Pakistan's innings. I've no idea why he even had shades on. He was the only person in England that was wearing sunglasses yesterday. But clearly it affected his eyesight, because there was a clear wide that absolutely nobody touched, that he claimed that someone got a glove on, and it was caught behind. So if he'd got a glove on it, it was out. But he didn't give anything.
I don't know what the commentators were smoking there, because it was like, oh, he must have got a glove on it. But if that's the case, then it's out, isn't it, like you say. But I thought there was about 5 or 6 wides that weren't given that should have been.
Well, don't get me started on the head-high ones. There was a couple that needed step ladders to get near. But like you say, we got the 15, and actually moving forward, if we use that market again, that's probably no bad thing.
No, in the end, say a good match was there.
It does highlight the need to shop around, though, doesn't it? Like we've mentioned, both of our bets had different lines at different places, and we got on at the lowest lines, and it's really important to do that, particularly at the minute when the weather's not necessarily playing ball.
Well, I say this in all sports. Sometimes you really do have to shop around, and I'm not saying you have to take the lower line all the time if the price is crap or whatever. But you really need to play smart. I mean, for example, with my bet, I think the Pakistan and Australia lines for fours, if you'd taken them individually, you'd have lost by half a 4 on both of those. And it was the same with the sixes market for Australia as well. You were 0.5 behind there. You know, you really just got to be very clever and look out for, you know, some of the best. You've got to shop around, like you say, Kev. But we've done a good job of it in the last few days of getting as much out of this tournament as we can. I feel there's not been much to go at, has there? But we've ticked along nicely. Another difficult circumstances at Trent Bridge on Thursday. India against New Zealand. I mean, I was looking forward to this game because you know, New Zealand have started so well. People are talking about them as contenders. I'm not as convinced myself. I would like to have seen them in action against one of the best sides in the World Cup. But if we're going to see it, I don't think it's going to be in 50 overs each, because the forecast, it's been raining heavily. Trent Bridge the last few days. It's going to rain there overnight, early in the morning. I mean, it might clear by midday, but you know, whether or not there's going to be any play, I don't know, Kev. You might know this ground better than me.
Well, I don't think there'll be any problem with the outfield or anything like that, Steve. It's a test match ground, isn't it? So it'll have had all the mod cons fitted to it. And as I've said a couple of times this week, we haven't had that much rain in the UK, so it's not like the water tables were already high. So most of the water will have seeped through. I did note that there was no play in any of the last 3 days of Nottinghamshire's championship game against Hampshire, albeit that was on an outground, obviously, because this game's at Trent Bridge. So that would be a slight concern. But yeah, I think if it stops raining, the place should be good to go. You know, I mean, it'll have all the sufficient drainage and whatnot. So I don't envisage anything there. But I mean, the forecast suggests it's not going to stop until sort of 12:01, maybe even 2 o'clock. But then there is a clear window, so hopefully we'll see some cricket, as long as the umpires ain't got bored and sent everyone home by then.
I think the cut-off time is usually about 4:15 p.m. for a 20-over match. That might be what happens here. You know, there's been a lot of rained-off games already. I think the organisers will be very keen to get some action in. But I think one thing's for certain, that we're not going to be starting on time, and it's not going to be 50 overs each. So already that puts me off personally taking anything. You know, I had a nibble on some of the performances earlier in the week, almost free bets, no risk bets. But there's no point here, because you're going to get reduced overs in. You're not going to start on time. So it's a difficult one. Let's just say, for saying it's going to be a 20-over game, who is better in, say, a 20-over format, India or New Zealand?
I think part of the problem that we've got with this one, Steve, is the toss will have a major bearing on the game wins it, because inevitably whoever wins it is going to bowl, and they'll probably have a better time of it with the bat in the second innings. I mean, you'd probably bowl here anyway, wouldn't you, because it's so small, and I understand they're using the pitch right in the middle of the square, so every single boundary is going to be accessible in this game. To answer your question, probably New Zealand, actually. India aren't fantastic at this format. They might have the IPL, but they're not a brilliant T20 side by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, they won the inaugural World T20, didn't they? But they haven't won it since. And that in itself tells you everything that you need to know. They didn't even make the final in their own backyard, did they? 3 years ago, that was England and West Indies. West Indies obviously demolishing them in the semi-final. So yeah, I'd probably go with New Zealand. Probably based on the fact that they don't have 5 bowlers that can bowl 10 overs particularly well, but they do have a plentiful of options that can, you know, they have sort of 3 main bowlers that can get you 12 overs, and then those part-timers, there's 3 or 4 of them, isn't there? Neesham, de Grandhomme, I suppose it's a little harsh to call Santner that, but you know, that kind of thing. Williamson, Munro, they can all club together for 8 overs, whereas in 50 over cricket, they'd be bowling 20 overs and more, wouldn't they? Which is a bit more of a concern, albeit I'm saying this after Neesham ran through Afghanistan the other day, but he's not going to do that every day of the week. Whereas India are a little bit more circumspect, aren't they? They have specialists, but the specialist in them relies on more than 4 overs to be at their absolute best, maybe with the exception of just Brummer, of course, who's as economical as they come, and a very good player in his own right. But you know, their batsmen tend to take time to build into an innings, don't they? Which obviously they don't always get in 20 over cricket. The one thing you would say though is their lack of batting depth probably doesn't haunt them as much in this format. So I'd probably say New Zealand would have the edge, but obviously if they bat first, I wouldn't want to be anywhere near them. I really do think the side that bowls first will have a major advantage here.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I think the New Zealand top 4's got a bit more power hitting about it, to be honest. If Munro comes off especially, Guptill, we know is very positive. Williamson can't bat any worse than he did the other day, and he got about 70 odd, didn't he? But he can be much more positive than that. You know, Taylor has been looking to hit the ball right out the blocks. You know, India prefer to, well, they're great stroke players, aren't they? They're not bish bash bosh as much. You know, you got Dhoni coming down the order, but again, though, it's like similar with New Zealand after that top 4 or 5's finished. You know, what have they got? You know, that's always my concern there as well. I mean, I can't predict this game. There's so many question marks in my head about it. I don't have any bets for the contest at all. I say a gut feeling. I got the feeling that Munro might go quite well here. To be honest with you, Kev, he's looked all right in this tournament and then got himself out stupidly. So, you know, I might look to take an in-running line on him if it becomes available, but nothing pre-match. You having a couple of small dabbles on a man of the match market, aren't you?
I am, Steve. Yeah, it's the only market really that I can find that's going to survive the course of time. Obviously, apart from the match win market I've just mentioned, I don't want to get involved in that until I know the outcome of the toss. I mean, if this was a level 20 over game, conditions were guaranteed to be the same in the first innings and the second innings, and everything was hunky-dory at the prices, I probably would take New Zealand, but that's not the case. So, you know, we've built up a nice little run of profit over the last week, like you say, out of whatever we could get out of this tournament. So, you know, I want a bit of interest in the game. These are probably 2 sides that we've not got too much outright interest in, so it's kind of handy to have a little bit of an interest in this. So I'm going to go with a couple of man of the match bets. I'll go with one on each side. I can't call who's going to win necessarily at this stage. So for India, we'll go with Hardik Pandya. He showed everything that he's got against Australia with the bat. He looked well on course to clock the fastest 50 in the tournament till he got out for no apparent reason, really, didn't he, on 48. But with no Shikhar Dhawan in this game, KL Rahul is going to go up and open the batting, but there's a massive void to be filled at 4. And it looks like Vijay Shankar is going to fill it, but I don't think he's much of a player at this level myself. So I wouldn't be at all surprised if they shove Hardik Pandya up to fill that void. He batted at 4 in the last game, albeit he only came in for the last 10 overs. But like I say, he was clubbing a real decent attack, a decent Australia attack around all parts of the oval. So he can go well with the bat. He'll probably bowl 4 overs with the ball because of India's liking to play just 4 bowlers and him as an all-rounder. So he should have a really big impact on any India win. And at 16-1, he's probably, in fact, I think he might even be 18-1. He's a no-brainer from the Indian point of view. And then on the New Zealand side, these two sides played an ODI series in New Zealand right at the start of the year. It was straight after India had played in Australia. And although India won the series, Trent Bolt stood out like a sore thumb. 5 matches he played, and he got 12 wickets in that series. If New Zealand do bowl first in this match, I wouldn't be at all surprised if he finds a bit of swing. There's going to be plenty of clouds at Trent Bridge, even when it stops raining on Thursday. And we all know from history that when there's clouds there, the ball does swing. Obviously, it's not going to swing for very long, but it's only going to be a 20-over game, so it doesn't have to swing for very long, does it? And with a new opener, albeit Rahul's played there before, but he is a new opener. He'll have been preparing to play at 4 in this tournament. He might just be a little undercooked, particularly as India won't have been able to have done too much practice in the build-up to this game, with it pissing down all over the Midlands. I can see Bolt getting a wicket or 2 early doors, and if he bowls 4 really tight overs, maybe takes 3 wickets along the way, that could well be enough to snaffle the man of the match prize, particularly with New Zealand's batting not really convincing as much as they would like it to.
Yeah, a couple of big prices there in the man of the match market, worth a dabble. Let's hope we do get some play in to give one of those a chance to deliver the goods for us. But yeah, I've got a feeling it might be a pretty frustrating day from a viewing point of view. Again, I'm afraid, but the weather forecast is a little bit better approaching the weekend, so we can only hope that the matches going forward will be more rain-free. So we're looking forward to preview England against the West Indies on Friday. But from this edition, that's it, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's hope we get some play, like you say. Dry spell to come, so we can get stuck into this tournament again from Friday onwards.
Brilliant. See you around the curve. Thanks very much.
Cheers, Steve. Take care.